So I'm going to pose the question, what does play feel like for you? Like really sit into it. Think of a time where you have were just in a state of play. Like what did that feel like? And that's how this meditation started today for me, which I just closed my eyes and I started just seeing like kids play. And then my mind started kind of going, well, what does play feel like? And then I kind of saw my kids playing, and I saw like, and I just started wondering, is this a natural state we have as humans? Is this an important place to be? Because for me, play feels really really good. And when I've done a lot of I haven't done a lot of like research or looking about play, but I have done a lot on like flow states, and there's a sense of timelessness. You lose track of time, you forget to eat, and you're kind of in it. And that happens to me when I play too. And how important is play? I'm really serious about this. Maybe like pause this if you're listening to it, and just think of a time where you play. And if you're an adult, like most people are listening to this, when was the last time you were able to do that? And what does that feel like? And then in this meditation, I started like thinking back to when I was a kid and when I would play. And how it's kind of shifted over time. Where does that come from? It seems to be wired in us. I remember hearing at one point, you play to discover, right? Kids play to explore their surroundings and try new things in a safe place, right? Before they have to be into the world and they could get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or the tax man, That's kind of where we're at. And I just wonder, like, what happens if we don't have that anymore? Every time I've thought about this, I've always thought of Mary Poppins, where she's like, there's this point where she goes, and snap, the job's a game. And it makes me think, like, what if as adults we could play more? We gave ourselves permission to play more. Would all this like crap we have to do, would it become fun? I don't really know the answer to that. It's been kind of interesting to explore it. I talked to Carrie and my wife tonight right before I came down here, because I posed the question: is there any negativity to play? And before I answer that question, from my perspective, which means absolutely nothing, but she changed mine on that. I was trying to get Amelia to bed yesterday, and I was tired, just freaking burnt out. It was just a lot. I just didn't have enough energy. Luke's been sick, and Amelia's been kind of sick too, and so it's just been a lot of like ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs, and trying to like hold it all together. And there's no routine in this moment. And bedtime, I was done. I was running on zero. And then out of nowhere, she wanted to jump on the bed, and I usually have her hold my thumbs, and I'm like, boom, 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 and I pick her up into the air, and we kind of like fall down into the pillows, and it's super fun. But man, when you don't have any energy, just picking up a kid over and over again feels exhausting. And so instead, I went behind the curtains and I put up my hood, and I came out and I went, "Hi, I'm a doctor. Are you feeling okay? Can I check your pulse? Did you break your toes? Do you have an elbow that's a little achy?" And she went, "You're not a doctor, you're dad." And I went, "No, I'm a doctor." And then I went behind the curtain again and took off my hood and came out the other side. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, Amelia, did you just talk to the doctor?" And she went, "Yes. But where'd the doctor go?" And then I went back behind the curtain and came out and was like, "Hi, I'm the doctor. I told you. Do you have an achy bone? I just talked to your dad. He said you have an itchy butt." You know? And I was playing. And we maybe did that for like 30 minutes straight. And it was fun. it was so fun. And as I was meditating on this today, I was like, I was running on zero, and I started to play, and my energy wasn't depleting doing that. I just kind of kept going. And when I think about me being like a kid, that was the same way. It felt like you could just play forever as long as you were in it, right? It was just the best. It was the absolute best. And I kind of get the same way with Luke. Like when Luke's been playing lately, and this has been fun because the first time I noticed Amelia kind of becoming a human being, where she wasn't just reacting to everything. She was actually participating in life and play. Where she was learning how to stand. She was maybe 8 or 9 months old, and she would poke down beneath the table, and then she would peek back up and go, "Huh?" And he would go, "Whoa!" And she would laugh. Then she would peek down beneath the table. She'd poke up, and then you would, "Whoa!" And she would laugh. And it was like the first time it felt like you were playing with your kid. And Luke doesn't do that. What Luke does is, if you go run away from him while he's in his walker, he will chase you. But if you're fast enough, you can get into a room before he gets in there. And he'll run to the room, and you pop out, and you go, "Wah!" And he'll go, "Wah!" And you go, "I'm going to get you." And he'll turn around and go, "Wah!" And he'll start running with his arms in the air, trying to get away while he's in his walker. And it feels like the first time he's participated in playing like with me. And it's really fun. To now the point where Amelia wants to do it too. He's like, "Dad, run. Luke's going to get us." And we go run behind the couch, and we wait for him to get close. Blah! And then he'll turn around. He'll just haul ass away from us. And it's super fun. It's literally one of my favorite things. And you play with your wife, you kind of, there's a lot of butt pinching, that kind of stuff going on, or throwing stuff from a distance, trying to put bread on her head or something, just stupid stuff where you're both laughing. And so what does play feel like? I don't know what it feels like for you guys. Maybe you can let me know in the comments, because I'm kind of curious about if it feels the same for everybody. But for me, it's just fun. When I ask Carrie, she goes, "There's just no time. It just feels like you're completely, fully engulfed in the moment. You're just there," which is very, very consistent with flow states, being in the flow. Just you're in life. You're not trying to manipulate it or change it. You're just in it. And so then I was meditating on this too. I was like, is that where you want to be all the time? Can you be in play? Is this an important state to be in? And I don't know, because there was this time where I was like, are we... It gets kind of weird, right? It's like when I was a kid, nobody taught me this on purpose, but I felt like I was trying to avoid sad feelings and depression and that stuff all the time by being put in therapy and mental health hospitals and being on meds. It was like, these are bad, don't do these, run away from these things, this is not good. And then there was like a stage in my life where you're like, I just need to be happy more. So you start trying to chase happiness. And what I learned in that process is that you can't be happy all the time. Happiness is a feeling, and feelings they don't last forever. And when I was studying, I tried to do Zen Buddhism for a year, and what they would say is that it's happiness is elusive. It's like a butterfly. The more you try and chase it and catch it, the harder it is to get. But if you just sit still, happiness and that butterfly will find you. It will just land on your shoulder. And I kind of found that to be the case. So by trying to have happiness all the time, it made me more miserable because it was harder to get and I didn't have it. Nor can you. But if you just allowed yourself for it to be present every once in a while, you seem to become more, what's the word I'm looking for? Grateful that it's there. So that never worked for me, chasing happiness. That just never worked, which is interesting in and of itself. And then there was a point where I don't know what state you want to be in all the time, you know? I guess that's where I am now. Like, do you want to, when I think about it, do I want non-conflict and to be like at peace all the time? And that's what I thought for a long time too. I thought maybe if I'm just at peace and no conflict, then everything will be great. And what I've realized there, by trying to be in peace and conflict, or without conflict all the time, and that didn't work either. Especially, at least for me. Because without some kind of conflict, there isn't any growth. You're just kind of there. Unless I'm missing the point, because there's our other rules of thought where instead of just feeling like you're passive, that you just accept everything that comes. Something painful comes your way, I'm going to experience this painful thing. There's a Zen story, and I'm going to butcher it, but essentially a guy's horse runs away, and somebody goes, "Aren't you really upset that horse ran away?" He goes, "It is what it is." And then the next day, the horse comes back with a bunch of wild horses. Now the guy has 10 horses. And someone else comes up to him and goes, "Oh my gosh, aren't you so excited and happy that you have 10 horses now? What a wonderful stroke of luck." He's like, "It is what it is." And then his son, ends up trying to ride one of the wild horses to tame it. And he falls off and gets paralyzed from the waist down. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, what a terrible thing. How awful. Your son's paralyzed from the waist down." And he goes, "It is what it is." And then a month later, there was a draft. And his son didn't get drafted into the war because he was paralyzed from the waist down. And again, another person came up and, "Oh my gosh, how lucky are you? This is the greatest thing that's ever happened. You should feel elated." "Is that how you feel?" And he's like, "It is what it is." And that story kind of goes on like that. But when I think about that, I'm like, is that kind of where you want to be? You want to be able to take all the ups and downs and ins and outs and swirlies and twirlies and just kind of stay neutral with them all? And I haven't talked to a Zen master or anything like that, but I was like, can you still feel these big emotions? Just respond differently to them? Which would be probably the way to do that, right? That would be great. So that didn't work for me either, because I was like, I kind of like the conflict, because it forces me sometimes to explore different things. And maybe this is kind of the point where I keep looking outside of myself to try and find answers. Because I think other people are smarter than me. I think everyone's smarter than me to the most part. So I look to them, and then I question the shit out of it and challenge it and end up coming to my own conclusion at the end anyways. Or sometimes I wonder if I just started with myself, that would work. But at the same time, I've been wrong so many times in my life that I don't really fully trust everything I have to say or believe. I don't trust my own opinions all the time. And because of that, I literally have this thing here to learn all of the cognitive biases that humans have, learn them so I can recognize them when they're happening, because they happen. There's a lot of cognitive biases we have, and I have them too. And so without some kind of sound science, it's hard for me to just believe in myself. Is that a weird thing to say? So maybe that's what I keep looking for, is where is this natural state? What is this natural state that we want to kind of try and be in most of the time? This kind of calm place? Do we want to be in harmony with everything? There is this other idea I'll share with you too that I used to really like, that life is like a river, right? And if you just ride the river, let me start over. If life is like a river, it's flowing one direction all the time. And if you try to cross the river, it's going to be really hard. If you try and go upstream back to maybe where you've been before, it's going to be really hard. But if you just relax and let the river take you where it wants to go, that's the trick. And I don't really like that either, because I've also learned about the locus of control. And this feels kind of like the idea that we don't have any control of our lives. And I don't know if we do or not, right? Because if you look at the neuroscience, and there's some really cool YouTube videos on this and research, that life, that we don't have any control of our life. So what I'm referring to is there's a study where they were doing brain scans, and they could look at your brain, the doctors and researchers, and they could predict with an incredible amount of accuracy what you were going to do based on how your brain was firing. So they saw what your brain was doing before you made the decision, the choice, whatever it was. And so your brain's making these decisions, or something is making these decisions before you even know consciously what the choice is. And that's wild, right? That's absolutely insane. So maybe we are on the river and we just aren't aware of it, and we have this illusion of choice. And I don't really know that. Which just kind of goes back to, is life predetermined or not? I don't know. I'm getting kind of off the rails here. But let's go back to play. So I'm always kind of wondering what state, like where do I want to spend is there a place you can spend most of your time? And like in our society, it's all about grinding and doing hard things and stay on the grind and have discipline and all this shit. And then people burn out, and then they're like, oh, it didn't work for me. And the only people you hear about is the people it worked for, because no one wants to hear about the losers. And I say that, tongue in cheek, because, yeah, well, you get what I'm saying. I hope. So then I'm like, where do I operate the best? And usually it's when I feel free, when I feel like nothing's kind of weighing me down. And when I'm playing, when I'm able to play in life, it feels the best. And I've kind of noticed in that meditation again that I kind of follow play a lot, the things that bring me joy. Play brings me joy. So like I even made a list. It was like pole vaulting. Oh, I just want to do it all the time. I just loved the act of doing it. And then it turned into not play anymore. It turned into work. And then it stopped being really fun. It stopped being fun to the point I don't think I'll ever do it again. There's some other things mixed in there where I felt like I was playing catch with my dad all the time. It was kind of our thing. And I can't really play catch with my dad anymore. So pole vault's never going to be what it was. Unless I can find new people to play with again. Maybe. I don't really have any desire in it. My brain could get in the way too. There was a point where I could pole vault, and right when I planted, I knew how the rest of my jump was going to turn out before it even happened and before I landed in the pit. So there was no surprise anymore. I was thinking too much. I wasn't in the moment, as my wife said. Again, that kind of ruined it for me. It took the childlike beauty out of it. Especially the as you get higher up and it turns into a work and kind of gross. But man, at the early stages and on through college and early pro years, it was just nonstop play constantly. There was bits of work in there for sure where it wasn't fun, but man, when I could just sit and play, it was the best. Skydiving was the same way. It was like, I remember every day was like brand new and you didn't know what to expect, and you literally jumped into an unknown world. Like, how many people know what it feels like to just fucking fall from 13,000 feet and know what that feels like, and have the wind hitting you in the face and being able to move your limbs in a certain way to make you spin and move, and the people think you're flying, but you're just falling. You're manipulating. You're flying your body through the air. You're moving. And man, that was fun to play. And then when I got my license, you would play more. There was this guy, Corey. We did this thing. We thought we invented it. There's no way we were the first people to do this, but we called it the Ninja Turtle. We tried to get out of the plane where I held on to his ankles and he held on to mine, and we were facing each other. And we started doing like a somersault, just like in the Ninja Turtles, and to the point where we thought we would just somersault, head over heels, but it went sideways, and we were just holding on, moving, not knowing how to make this thing do what we wanted it to do, and we just laughed. It was so much fun. Karate was like that too. It was just like a lot of play early on. That was early in my life, and I feel like I play with video editing. And video editing kind of turned into pole vault for a while. It was just fun, and people liked it. I think people could see when I was playing, and then people started asking me to make videos for them, and asking and paying me, and then it changed. It stopped being. I feel like I'm saying play a lot. It's getting annoying that everyone's. I'm getting sick of listening to me say it, but it stopped being fun. Yeah, it turned into work. And I don't know if there should be a play in your formula, or a formula in your play. It should just kind of come naturally. I don't know how to describe it. Does this make sense to anybody here? For me, cameras were the same way, and money out. It just always kind of ruined it. Just ruins it. Yeah, there's no plan, and that's maybe the best part about it. Oh man, I'll talk about two more things here, and then I'll get out of here. But I want to talk about like what it feels like to not be able to play, and why maybe that happens, and then I'll share what kind of Carrie told me, which was kind of mind-boggling in a way. But what do you think happens if you're not allowed to play, and why do you think that happens? I had a therapist once. His prescription was for my dad to take me to a magic shop to go get pranks, so I could prank people, including my teachers. This was middle school, because he's like, you act too much like an adult. You need to be a kid again. You need to get back to having fun and playing. And it's kind of why, like, why did that stop, And not just for me, but I was talking to my wife again, and she was saying the same thing happens. Like, you want to play in public, and your parents tell you not to because you're in a certain societal setting, and you put your value in what other people think versus allowing this free like light to come out. And I think about that with my kids too. It's like we will run around a store yelling. We taught Amelia that if she doesn't know where we are, to start yelling Marco at the top of her lungs, and then we'll just yell Polo back. And I don't think she knows it's a game, but what we found is everybody around who hears our kid yelling Marco and then their parent yelling Polo, they laugh. Almost everybody I've ever run into laughs and thinks it's the cutest thing ever. And it's fun. It's fun to see other people kind of laughing at and having fun with your play, And when I was meditating this, you get to the essence of it, and it feels warm, and it feels free, and it feels like a place you kind of want to live. And what I keep wondering is this the same as like chasing this happiness idea, where it becomes elusive the more you try to do it? Or can you just like try to make uncomfortable situations into a game of play, again, like Mary Poppins? And snap, the job's a game. And snap, the funeral can be a game. And snap, this can be a game. And can you do that all the time? It feels like as adults, you have to act like an adult. And was talking to Carrie again with my nieces. I was never really that adult. I mean, my stepmother-in-law called me the funkle, like the fun uncle, because I would not act like the way you're supposed to. I would just have fun with it. But blocking that hurts. I had a situation once where I wanted to ride a scooter, and it looked fun, and just kind of just play on these scooters you can rent downtown Minneapolis. And Carrie at the time didn't want to do it because she didn't feel comfortable on scooters, and she didn't want to look like she didn't want to fall over and people laugh at her or something like that. And I understand it, but I remember feeling so like hurt by that because I wanted to just have this. I want to play with my wife, and yeah, I don't know how what else to say about that except it's kind of a weird situation. It because I could feel her pain of like not wanting to be judged and fall off a scooter. Maybe there's some fear there, and I just wanted to play with my wife. Just couldn't make it happen. So restricting play can hurt a lot, and I try not to do that with my kids. And Amelia wants to play all the time. And it gets really hard because I wanna keep that alive for as long as I can. I don't ever want her to go to a therapist and they prescribe going to a magic shop to do pranks. I don't want her to feel like she can't let that light out, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't want to feel like I can't let mine out. And then a lot of times I feel like I can't. And in the early vlogs I used to do, it was out all the time. It's like there was zero fucks. I didn't really care. I just was like, you can judge whatever you want. I'm just going to let this out. And I've talked about this Marianne Williams quote that to me, that was my own light shining. Like, this is fun. And it's making people laugh. It might make other people uncomfortable seeing this, but fuck those people. Like, that's kind of my approach. And it worked to the most part, but I did care what those people thought. It still did hurt if people said things, even though I acted like I didn't. It was definitely a defense mechanism. It still is, and that's why I'm still talking about it 12 years later, Those people are always going to be there. And maybe this kind of goes back to the guy with his horses and his son, getting paralyzed. It is what it is. It is what it is. So Carrie works in a jail. And she says she sees the worst of the worst people all the time. And she reminded me that those people's play and joy can have dark consequences. And then made me really kind of explore this whole play idea. And I won't go into details of some of the stuff she said, but it made me really go, oh man, play. You can have positive. I'm just using positive. I mean, you can have positive feelings about a situation, but it's horrific to most people. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah, that is royally kind of fucked, So I guess where I got to is the intention of your play is important. And there's like this childlike play and there's like this adult play, right? Like, there's been other examples. Carrie told me again. I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this. I'll ask her, but not enough people watch this to really care. But I guess early in our relationship, she had a piece of tape on her, and I didn't tell her she had a little piece of tape on her for the whole trip to like the mall. And when we got back in the car, I was like, "Hey, just so you know, you've had this tape on you for like an hour and a half," and she was really hurt by it. And she just told me that today, and I was like, "Oh my God, really?" And my intention in that moment was, this is going to be funny. She's going to be like, "You son of a bitch." I thought it was going to be this playful kind of thing. And this is where I kind of think like the intention is what's important. But then I think of those like serial killers. Their intention was to make you laugh by wearing somebody's face. Maybe the intention isn't it. This is where I kind of wrestle with this a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't even be talking about this. I told Carrie this podcast was going to be almost impossible to make because I couldn't even get past some of the dark stuff that you have to kind of play with here. And then I thought of stand-up comics who are constantly busting people's balls. But is it to get a laugh? Is it for them to play? Like, what is it? And I guess where I keep kind of going way, 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 way back into this meditation, where I got to the core of it, and I thought of the root of play, where it's perfect, where it's fun. It's where you're playing with life or a situation, and if there is another person involved, they enjoy it too, and they feel like they're playing as well and participating in that moment. Can you still have that feeling of like beauty and play without anybody there? Absolutely. I think playing with life is just, for me personally, I do like busting people's balls. And in many times when I do it, it's to bring us closer together. If you bust a boomer's balls, or even someone older than a boomer, they appreciate that, I've found, and they'll bust it back, and there's this kind of give and take to it. But it seems like this younger generation, if you try that same approach, they get hurt by it, even though your intentions are good. It's interesting. So it's funny. It's like the play thing kind of gets to the same place where I guess it's like, where is your natural state? And this sounds so silly, but there was like one of the newer Star Wars was just on. I think it was the very last one they just made, and I know people hate it. But there's this cool idea in it that Rey, at the end, if you haven't seen it, spoilers, she has a yellow lightsaber. And a yellow lightsaber in Star Wars means you have a balance between the light side of the Force and the dark side. You can take from both and kind of create your own thing and make decisions based on what direction you want to go. And for me personally, I related to that hard only because that's where I feel like I'm always trying to live. I explore the dark shit, like where play can be for serial killers and things, but where play can be for a kid. And like, what's the commonalities between that, and when should you be aware of what way to go? And or kind of like this guy and his horses, right? And his kid. He's pretty neutral on it. He's in the middle. Maybe he feels both in different ways. Maybe he doesn't. I don't really know. I can't ask that guy or whoever made the story, but it's kind of beautiful to just know that if you're in the middle here, you can be a master of all of it instead of picking a side. You can explore it all. You're like between the bubbles, instead of choosing a bubble. You're in between them all. You get to kind of peek and grab from all of it. I don't think I'm making any sense anymore. And maybe that's my point. Or maybe that's where I try to be all the time. But it never feels comfortable because there's always conflict. There's constant conflict in me all the time. And conflict, not comfortable, But at the same time, it is more fun for me. Like, even if you think about all the different religions, if you know even a little about all of them, it's fun to kind of just meander between them all, and where most people pick one and then argue it for the rest of their lives that theirs is the best. Where for me, it's fun to just kind of be in the middle and have a taste of it all. And I think that's where I like to play, I guess. This is the absolute last thing. When I started One Whole Life, I had this whole play idea because I wanted people to be able to play more without feeling like they had to do too much. I still have this idea. I think it's funny that if you had a coffee cup, I was going to try and sell these maybe, a coffee cup with a suction cup on the bottom, or a magnet that you could stick on the roof of your car. And so when you were driving around, you could see other people react by trying to tell you you have a coffee cup on top of your car. It's so stupid, right? It's not hard to do. It's just a silly little prank, a silly little joke that maybe will snap people out of their routines a little bit and give them a little joy and be like, this fucking motherfucker, you're not going to believe. He was driving 75 miles an hour down the road in the snow with his coffee cup on top of his car. I was honking. He would never. And you're just sitting there like watching this guy go crazy. And he's waving to you to try and tell you there's a thing on there, and you just wave back. That's the type of play I like. Yeah, I'm way past my time. So, but yeah, this went all over the place again. But I was just meditating on play, and and it feels like it's a natural state of being that we have that comes out of us. Not an act of playing, like you can play the violin and fucking hate it. But it seems like when you're always, but you can play with the violin, and it can be the fucking best thing in the entire world. Does that make sense? It's like just differentiating from the act of playing versus being in a play state, a playful state. So I'll pose the question I asked right at the beginning. What does a playful state feel like to you? And when's the last time you did it? Like what were you doing as play? And yeah, that's it for me today, guys. Thanks for this much. And for the people who listen to these, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's fun communicating with you, private messages and comments and things like that. I do appreciate it. So life is meant to be experienced. Curiosity will get you there.